Hello, my name is Brittany and welcome to Not in the Brief. In this video, we are going to be covering one of my workflows for handing off motion ideas that are stuck in my head for web design projects and making it easier to hand off to developers using a tool like Jitter. So a quick overview of what that process looks like. I will typically start in Figma for the design phase, but also start to prep the design files to hand off to Jitter. What I've found in my process is as if I can do the prep work before it goes to Jitter, it saves me time and helps me stay organized in Jitter. And then I will transfer it over. And from there, I will apply the animations, handle any revisions from the client or my internal team, and then download and export that design, bring it to a tool like Google Drive to then grab the link, come back to Figma, put the link in my annotations to the developers, and start that conversation. So I learn best through examples. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through that process that I just summarized with an example of a fun concept header animation that I put together for Visit Portugal. This is just a fun made up project. I used to live there full time and it is one of my favorite places to visit. So this is a nod to Portugal. Okay, so starting in Figma, in this example, I already have it fairly organized. Typically, my design file will have a lot of explorations on it. And what I try to do at this stage, that is at the tail end of the design phase, when you're just finessing, is, I typically have the animation already in mind. That's typically within the layout phase of the design portion. And I like to map out my designs as if I'm doing a storyboard for a video production. In this example, it doesn't seem as necessary, but it's part of my workflow and it's helped me with more complicated designs. So it's a workflow that I like to keep consistent throughout, and it helps me stay organized and have the vision in mind before I head into Jitter. So looking at this, we have all the well-known places of Portugal, but also my favorite that I want to highlight in this animation. So like I said, this is the header. And the goal is to entice people to explore different parts of Portugal. So we have Sintra, Lisbon, Cascais, and Porto. And I want a fun and engaging way to animate this to keep people excited. I mean, the images alone makes you want to go to Portugal, but I want the excitement of the images to also be played out in the animation. So I have an idea and I'm already starting to plan what elements in Jitter that I can use to make that happen. But before I do that, I need to create a file that's prepped for Jitter. And what I like to do is, when I'm working on a website, there's typically multiple sections that are going to have animation. And what I do is just do it per section. So for this one, as you see, we have all these images. And what I did is they're all layered behind. And that's the same for these over here. So layering it in the way that it's going to look is part of the prepping process. It just makes it easy. Another process, let me move my face, is to name the elements that are on this page. No, I don't typically name my layers if I don't need to, but when it helps me stay organized, then I will definitely take the time to name those layers. So this is all prepped. It was pretty straightforward. So now what I'm going to do is select my frame, come to the actions panel down here. I use Jitter almost every day, so I have it in my recents. But if you don't, you can go to plugins and widgets and just type it in. There's only one and it's from Jitter, so you know it's going to work. So let's click into it. And it's confirming that we're on the correct frame, and you can select multiple if you need to, but for this one we're just going to copy. And we are needing a new Jitter file, so we're going to open in Jitter. And from here we are going to just confirm everything. And one other thing I like to do is the elements that I won't be animating, I want them out of the way. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that now. And I will group them. For the sake of this, I'm just gonna call it locked. I will bring it down and then I'm going to lock it. And I'm noticing that this is not where it needs to be, so I'm just gonna confirm that everything is in the right order. This actually needs to go down here. Okay. Now thinking about this animation, I mentioned I have something in mind, and what I want to do is have these slide through as a slideshow, but in a way that's engaging and keeps people entertained and kind of wondering what's going to come next. So like I said, I had one in mind, so I'm going to select the El Porto, go to animate, new animation. We are going to slide down to mask and do mask slide in. So they have all these presets, and it makes it really easy to quickly apply it and move on. That's why I nowadays since using this tool, I implement more of the more motion into my projects because my process is fast and I can, have an idea, go into Jitter, make it a reality, and then hand it off to development in that design animation phase. It saves time so that we can allocate that time to developers. Okay, so we have this animation. I'm going to go to the top of the animation again because I want to apply it to the small image because I want them to move at the same time. So new animation, we are going to mask in. I actually think it would be fun if they came in at different directions. So that looks great. Now, again, to stay as organized as possible, we are going to group these. And this one is Porto. We're going to move this out of the way because right now I'm just wanting to apply my animation, and then I will come back and organize things. People may have a different approach, but this is the one that works best for me. I clicked on the wrong one, so let me do that. Okay, so we applied the same animation that's on this one, but I do have an idea where I don't want it to be the same every time. I like the idea of having, these are coming at different directions, but then the next set, I want them to flip so that, it keeps your attention and it's not repetitive. So this one's coming down and we want that one to come up. Now we need to click the small Qashqai animation, mask slide in. And that looks great. So let me align these, group, name it, and we are going to move that up and over to the side. Okay, now we're going to do Lisbon. So new animation, mask slide in, right? So this one, Qashqai's is coming up, so that one is correct. Now we're going to do the small image, and this one will be sliding up. So let's do, what is this? This is Lisbon. We're going to move that up because I like to organize it by the order in which the animations are coming in. Okay, so now Sintra is the last one. So let's apply that same animation. Very click happy. Let's click the right one. Okay, so we want that one to come up, right? That's coming down, that one's coming up. And this one, we will just need to go like that, and that's correct. Okay, group, and then we're going to name it correctly, and we will bring that up. And for the sake of this, let's just put them together. Okay, so let's just quickly view it to make sure the animation is correct. And it is. And you'll notice that now that we've applied all the animation to it, we are left with a blank screen, which is not what we want. So we need to look at the images that are last. And so that's these images here. So what I'm going to do is highlight these two, copy and paste. And because those already have animations applied to it, we're just gonna have to come down here and click out of it. And these are the extra ones. So let's just name it extra. Move this down and let's see. Yeah. Okay, so that way it feels like a loop. So actually let me put on the loop, and now it should feel cohesive, and that is perfect. Okay, so we have the base done, and now we are just going to finesse it a little bit. I won't take up too much time to do this because we could spend some time to perfect it and be accurate. I'm just going to loosely and eyeball this. And what I did is separate it so that it slows down the transition between each of the sets. And then now what I'm going to do is I have them all selected, and grabbing the last bar here, making sure that these white handles are on, I'm going to drag it to the end. I could add a little bit more time, but that's okay. And so what this does is slow down the animation. So let's take a quick peek and see if it's good enough for this example. You see there's a pause between each of them, and yeah, I think it works. We can spend some more time finessing it, but I think that it's good for now. So in the next step of my process is I'm going to export this. And before I do that, there is one thing that just came to mind. If you're wanting to, explore some other animations with the presets, you can treat this like a Figma canvas. So you could select it, copy and paste, and come in here. Actually, this is good information. You could change the animation and apply a different one, and you can, keep playing with that, and you won't lose that original design and animation that you created. So it's a newer feature, and it's really nice. So I recommend playing with that. So again, we are going to export, and from there I will export it and drop it into a tool like Google Drive so that I could take that link, come back into Figma, And if this was an actual project, I would have a dedicated development page for all my final designs and handoff annotations. And from there, I will leave an annotation. I like to keep this as organized as possible, so I'll say something like animation note. I'll explain the animation. Oops. Okay, trying to move quick so I don't spend too much time doing this. Okay, so I won't go into too much detail when I'm doing the animation explanation part, just because I have a visual, and from my experience, that just surpasses anything that I could write. So, again, I like to keep this organized, so I will add in a link emoji and say something like animation reference lives here and CC, and then tag the people that I need to tag. And then I will just make that bold and probably do something along the lines of this, and that helps start the conversation with developers so that they know exactly what I have in mind for this, and then we can have the conversation of, is this possible? Do we need to alter anything to make it easier? There's also, this one's pretty simple, but there are use cases where maybe your animation is a little complex and it's possible, but the development requires custom code and that doesn't work with the scope. So it's best to just be able to communicate clearly, in the way that I can do that, that I've learned, is through actual examples. Another way that you could do it, if you are able to find an exact example of what you have in your head for the animation on a different website, that has also worked, but I enjoy the process and I can work fairly quickly in Jitter, so I prefer this because it visually gives the developers exactly what needs to happen. And yeah, I've had a lot of success with this workflow, and I'm very excited to have shared this with you. And I am well, if you are a part of my newsletter, and that's the reason why you're here, at the end of the newsletter, I'm including this file for you to duplicate and analyze and explore and maybe create your own versions of it and just play around. And if you do that, let me know. I always want to know what everyone is creating. And if you have any questions about this workflow, you can always reach out to me at notinthebrief@gmail.com or find me on LinkedIn at Brittany Steiner. Okay, I will see you in the next blog issue or the next YouTube video. Okay, bye.